time once again to go racing.
It does not get any better than this.
The pressure is really on now.
Yes, it's pole position. Lights out and we're racing in PSGL.
The first lap has been absolute chaos.
What an overtake! Oh no!
I've never seen anything like it.
Side by side again. This will be settled right at the end.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome along to round 11 of the PSGL F3 Championship here on the Premier Sim Gaming League's YouTube channel. My name is, as always, Paul Zytrix Buckley, bringing you all the action from the F3 this evening. We are off to Austin, the Lone Star State, Texas, in America, to the Circuit of Americas for round 11. And the championship is heating up. Now, I am bringing this to you all on my own tonight. No Sam to bounce off. Unfortunately, he has prior arrangements, so he will not be able to join me for the rest of the season, but I will bring you all the action nonetheless. Now, looking at the track this evening, we are going, as I say, to the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Here is the circuit, 5.5 kilometers or 3.4 miles if you're that way inclined. 20 corners, plenty of straights, plenty of wiggly corners. Very fun track, probably, I would have to say, one of my favourite circuits to drive in the game, and it should provide us with some great action tonight. Now, we don't have a huge amount of drivers. We do still have a plenty populated grid. However, we do have some drivers unable to attend, as well as we do in our co-commentator this evening. But nonetheless, we do have some of our championship contenders are here. Some are missing, so we could see a huge change at the top of the grid. Here are the standings as we came out of round 9. The round 10 ones I will have somewhere. But nevertheless, the graphics not seeming to update in my OBS. But I can tell you currently Daniel is still leading the championship on 66 points. Ahead of Morgan Ball on 64 and Christian Sendell on 60. Carter Lundy, in spite of not having raced since round 4, is still holding strong in 4th position. As he's now driving in F2. Then behind him we've got Alvaro, Leonard, Jed Norgrove, all within touching distance as well. But the important thing to note is Daniel isn't here this evening. Neither is Christian Sendell or obviously Carter Lundy. So we could see a new championship leader coming out of America with just 3 rounds after this one. 64 points up for grabs with all 4 remaining rounds that we have scheduled. And it's still very, very close between all the drivers. So we could still see any number of drivers coming away on top. Theoretically, everybody down to, I think, about 20th position is in with a shout if they perform really, really well. Obviously, the likelihood of that isn't entirely there, but mathematically, that's how close our grid is. Pretty much all but a small handful of drivers, and I believe they're all reserve drivers that have only raced 1 race or 2 races in the season anyway, are in with a shout of the championship. Now, we talk about Daniel. He's only had 1 non-podium finish in all 6 races he's had since replacing Carter Lundy when Carter got promoted up to F2. He's missing this one. Could this be the huge dent in his championship challenge that it could be? It depends how well it goes for him this evening. We've got Morgan Ball. He's had some relatively inconsistent results through the season, it has to be said. Through the previous 3 races, it's been kind of up and down, but P2 last race, will be looking to capitalise on that form, and with a bunch of his rivals, those closest to him in the championship, not here this evening, this could be the perfect opportunity for Morgan Ball in that Red Bull to make a huge claim at the top of the standings. Sendell, who missed the last race, was looking pretty hot at the top of the championship as well. 2 races in a row, we are unfortunately missing Christian Sendell now, so he's going to inevitably drop even further down the order and really bring himself a challenge as the championship brings itself to a head. Alvaro, lying in 5th, is with us again tonight as well. With his rivals not here, this could be a great chance for Alvaro to throw himself into that championship fight as well. Currently sitting on 51 points, so 15 behind Daniel in the lead. If he were to win, he could pass Daniel this evening. Obviously, whether he'd be leading or not would depend on whether Morgan Ball finishes ahead of him in points or scores a certain amount of points that I'm not going to try and do the math on. Because commentators and maths never work together. I've fallen foul of that hole before. But Alvaro theoretically is in with a chance of leading the championship this evening at the end of the race as well. So is Leonard, who's also here as well this evening. Again, with a lot of their championship rivals not here, it is a great chance to assert a claim at the top end of the table and really thrust themselves into this title fight as the season slowly draws to a close. 3 rounds left after tonight. We've got Jed Norgrove as well, sitting around about that level of points. He can't take the championship lead with a win this evening, even if none of his rivals score points around him, but he can throw himself up there, absolutely. We saw him win last time out. So 46 points the total for Jed Norgrove at the moment. What can he do? Currently down in P7, but obviously that could all change. We are currently just holding on to get going very, very shortly. Just waiting on the league director to give the go-ahead. He's trying to get us a full grid of cars for the evening to get us driving with a full set, which will be absolutely wonderful to see. So we do apologise for the delay, but hopefully we can make up for it with some really intense racing action if we do manage to get a few more drivers on the grid. I can tell you right now in the lobby we currently have the 13 including me, but 12 that were signed up for this race, with a lot of drivers having real-life commitments and some having technical problems. We have unfortunately dropped to just 12 for the time being, but nonetheless, they are all hungry for it as well. I'm just keeping one eye on Discord as Kryptonite, our ever-suffering race league director, tries to fill out the grid to give you guys some action for this evening's race around COTA. And well, just a little bit more about the track as well as we proceed to wait for some further information to come in. We'll take another look at the track map. Of course, the Circuit of the Americas first run in Formula 1 in 2012. Another Tilke designed circuits, and I must say one of his better designs. This circuit especially with that big hill you can see there in the elevation changes at turn 1. Of course, the track widens as well through turns 1 and 11 to allow more room for overtaking, which should be very, very fun indeed to keep our eye on. Keep our eyes as well as we head towards the latter part of the lap. Of course, we saw in the real world Formula 1 a few years ago, turns 17 and 18. It can get pretty spicy through there towards the end of the race. Of course, we saw a podium being lost and given back to Kimi Räikkönen following a late move around those corners by one Max Verstappen on the inside. So the drivers will have to be careful about track limits there and around elsewhere in the circuit this evening. So we have got some more drivers looking like they are on the way. And we are just waiting for them all to arrive and come in. We'll take a quick look at the race control briefing for this race. Normally something we don't get time to do. But we can take a look at the pit entry and pit exit. Of course, it's been a heavily emphasized thing this season in PSGL. And once again, for very clearly defined rules for that in the driver briefing that was sent out today, revolving around the red tarmac, the painted area on the outsides, crossing the painted area, separating the pit entry and the track in any direction with a full wheel or more is prohibited, which is on the outside of the pit entry. Crossing the solid white line and the pit exit with a full wheel prohibited. The drivers are allowed to use the red painted area on the inside of pit entry. However, if drivers do get warnings for that, they will not be removed. So we might see some cheeky little corner cuts going into the pits if drivers are willing to risk a corner cut warning. But we will have to wait and see. We've got 15 drivers now in the lobby ahead of the race. Well, 14 and myself, should I say. So we are slowly filling out the grid. And this will be a very interesting one, of course. We're bringing in drivers that not only are complete unknown to F3, but they're a complete unknown to me as well. As we take a look, it looks like we are bringing in some of the PCF4 drivers. So PCF4 drivers are going to be coming in to prove themselves a little bit and see how they can battle it out with the PCF3 tier. So a bit of a mixed grid. And it will be very interesting indeed to see how they all perform up against each other. We will run through the full grid we have once we get in. I know we have got a few names that I can tell you are in at the moment. Morgan Ball. Well, let's go down the list as it is on my screen. Bryn Evans, of course, our league director, is here. Or our F3 manager director person. He's here. Alessandro is here. Marcus Thorler's here in the Mercedes, a full-time Mercedes driver now, which was confirmed earlier on today. Matthew Roberts is in the AlphaTauri this evening. Judd Norgrove, we spoke about earlier on, he's in the Aston Martin. Andrew Karapi in the McLaren. Jake Finch and Morgan Ball both here in the Red Bulls. They've been strong this season, so look for a good performance from them. Tony Riesch is here in the Alpine, as is Thomas Laminen in the Haas. Jugexi is back in the Ferrari with Leonard in the other Aston Martin. Alvaro and it is here in the Williams, joined by Peso, who is one of those F4 drivers this evening. Jane in the Alpine, another one of the F4 drivers, as is Bogdan. And Danny Coe as well, coming up from the F4 division for today's race. So we've got plenty of mixing up going on the grid today, as we are looking like we're going to get started fairly soon. Just waiting for the last of the F4 drivers that will be joining, coming into the race. I will give you updates on when it will start as soon as I can. Waiting for confirmation in the Discord as we get everybody filed into the lobby. It's just taking a little moment than before, as we get the F3 and the F4 drivers together. When I say F3 and F4, if you are new to the PSGL. We are still driving the F1 cars, obviously being the F1 game, but it is the way the PSGL tier system works. So F1 would be the tier with your F1 esports drivers, the likes of Yano Opmirs. F2 is then a lot of the F1 challenger drivers, the esports challenger drivers, and then down through F3, F4, F5, F6, I want to say as well, maybe even F7 for PC, and then it's the same over on the PS4 side as well. Just as a way to differentiate the tiers of drivers and sort of still keep it somewhat relevant to the sport, I suppose, where rather than just saying it's tier 1 and it's tier 2, it formulas within formulas is the best way to describe it. As we are just waiting now to fill the final couple of slots. A few more invites going out. I believe we're up to 18 drivers now, so very full grid looking like indeed. Apologies there, I needed to grab a drink, as I'm not used to talking this much this early on in one of these streams. But we are getting closer and closer to being able to go racing with a very full grid. Yep, I can see 18 in the lobby at the moment, so myself and 17 drivers currently in the lobby ready to go. As we head out to the USA. Of course, the only USA circuit that we have in the game this time around. But by the time we bring around the next game cycle, we'll be going to the Americas more and more often as we start to roll in the likes of the Miami circuit and the Las Vegas circuit as well. But for now, we are sticking with Austin, Texas, as we get ready to go racing. More and more drivers readying up. 18 drivers in the lobby right now. As we are getting ready to go. Everybody's starting to ready up. I believe 28 laps this race will be, as well as the standard short qualifying that we run. So we'll have short qualifying, then straight into the 28 lap race. I'm just keeping one eye on the Discord as we find out if we are ready to go racing. Just waiting on 2 more drivers, I believe, to come in. And then we will be ready to go. So, get your predictions in now in chat. Who do you think will be winning? Obviously, we have a lot of unknowns, so bear that in mind as well. For this evening's race, will we see any surprise from the F4? If there are any of you out there that watch the F4 tier as well, are you expecting anything of any of the drivers that we've mentioned that are going to be part of this as well? Any favourites that you would like to see perform well this evening, as we are starting to ready up now. So we're getting ready to go into qualifying. Just seconds away from heading into qualifying then at the Circuit of the Americas. We've got a almost full grid, pretty much full grid of cars this evening. So we'll see plenty of action around the Circuit of the Americas this evening for round 11. As we're just waiting for all the drivers now to load in, and we can take a look at what is going on circuit. As I've got all of my notes are going to go out of the window this evening with the F4 drivers coming in, and I fully welcome that. It's a great thing when we get to this later point of the season to see sort of almost like a rebalancing of the grid. See some of the F4 drivers, see how they can fare against the F3 counterparts, and no better stage to do it on than in an F3 championship race, when all of the F3 drivers are going to be racing for the championship as well at the same time. Just because we have the F4 drivers in doesn't mean they're going to drive any less seriously, especially for the likes of Morgan Ball, Alvaro and Leonard especially, Jed Norgrove as well, all really solidly in with a shout at the championship with their rivals not being here this evening. As I believe we're just waiting for one more driver to load in, and we will be ready to go. So it will be short qualifying first, as I say, before we go into the 28 lap 50% distance race with, of course, the mandatory pit stop. So we are into qualifying then. I'll just get the UI all set up for you, and we will be in. So into qualifying we go then. Nobody immediately out of the pits, but we can see we are 20 cars on the grid. Matthew Roberts, Andrew Karapi, Thomas Lemonin, Jake Finch, Leonard Fass, and Alessandro Moras, Alvaro, Gobusan, Tony Reish, Marcus Stoller, Peso, Andrew Fairley, Bogdan Moldovan, Morgan Paul, Jagexi, Danny Coe, Jed Norgrove, Bryn Evans, and Jane Turpak. I'm just going to say Jane because I'm going to butcher that name, and I do apologise. But that is our full grid, and immediately we've got Jane coming out on a outlap. So let's take a look at the Alpine as we make our way round the circuit, heading up through the twisty Sector 2 at the moment, through Turn 6 and into Turn 7. And in a corner that reminds me a little bit of Turn 4 at Sochi, actually, with the way that curves around at Turn 6. Then we're down towards the hairpin at Turn 11 before we're out onto the lengthy straight down through towards Turn 12. And this will be, of course, where the DRS opens. And as if on cue, the DRS does indeed open on the back of that Alpine, as we blast our way through the Texas Air into Turn 12. And then one final little set of corners to go before it opens up a little bit, and as we make our way round towards the end of the lap. So this will be a good benchmark time for every single one of the drivers now as we get ready to see these laps coming in. You can see about half the grid now coming out for their out laps, but we will stick with Jane in the Alpine for the time being, and we will indeed ride on board with Jane for this first lap of qualifying to get a feel for the track. So we'll hop on board then, heading around the final corner. Now onto the main straight. You can just see the elevation change looming ahead like a roller coaster. And you can also see how the track widens up, but we take the widest possible entry point we can, pick the apex, which is a little bit blind. And then we're back down the hill again through into this twisty section of corners, which is so much fun to drive. As you go left and then right and then left again and then right again, just slowly scrubbing off speed as you go, hugging those apexes as best you can. It's looking pretty planted through there at the moment for this for the Alpine. Using all of the available track surface as well. No nasty sausage curbs to speak of at this circuit. And once again, the track now opens up as we come into the hairpin at turn 11. And then we are out onto the straight. And you can see more of that elevation change as the DRS opens on the rear wing of the Alpine. Just the track kinking slowly over to the right-hand side. And we're going to move over with it, keeping to that curb as we brake hard into the hairpin. Sounded like there may have been a little bit of a lock-up there, but it looks like it was all okay. Then we're into these final few corners. Looks like there might be some traffic up ahead. A bit of a wobble there coming through turn 14, I think that was. Looks like the traffic has managed to get a move on between those two of them that are up ahead. This is the corner where we saw that overtake a few years ago that led to the podium being taken away. Cutting as much as you dare through there as we head down towards turn 20 now. And on to the start-finish straight. First lap of the session, 1:31.4. And that's the benchmark set for everybody. And you can see it is basically just about everybody out there at the moment. As Matthew Roberts is out on an invalidated lap for the time being. Laminen isn't, though. Who's coming across the line next to finish a lap? That was Danny Coe, but that was an invalidated lap. We've got an Alpha Tauri. Is that Bryn Evans coming across the line? No, that is his teammate Matthew Roberts, I believe. On that invalidated lap, we've got a Mercedes coming across next. It's not Marcus Thorler. It's going to be Andrew Fairley coming across the line. And what is that one? It's a fairly quick one. 1:31.476 was the time to beat. In fact, ignore me, I'm looking at it wrong. Of course, this is on the medium tyres, so take it all with a pinch of salt. 34.4. 31.476, of course, was the time set by Jane in that Alpine to start with. We've got a few times. Morgan Bull, 1:32.1 on the mediums. Bryn Evans, 33.2 on the mediums. And the time we just saw from Andrew Fairley at 34.4. A 34.9 for Fass. Looked like it might have been a bit of a scruffy lap there, but Leonard goes to the top of the timings. One of our F3 mainstays and one of those title challengers. Putting in a solid time, but he is beaten by Thomas Laminen already in this session, but only just. As a 1:30.8 is the time to beat. And it's getting pretty spicy out there. There's plenty of cars out on the track at the moment. Let's see who we can pick up. Have we got Morgan Ball out there on a lap at the moment? No, he's on the medium tyres. Alvaro, where is Alvaro at the moment? He's done a 1:35.3 on the soft tyres, so another potentially scruffy lap. Maybe have been influenced a little bit by traffic. We'll have to wait and see, but let's take a look now at Leonard's teammate. We were taking a look at Leonard. Let's see what Jed Norgrove can do. We've had a lap already. It must have been invalidated on that previous attempt. But it was a very quick Sector 2 for Jed Norgrove, so didn't manage to completely nuke the tyres on the first run. So let's just keep up with the Aston Martin driver, see what we can do in this next part of qualifying as we head through the final little sector of the track. And see if we can get a time on the board that will be somewhere near what Leonard has done, as Peso is up to P3, 1:30.9. And in fact, Jed Norgrove coming into the pits, so no time set as of yet, and that looks like it might be the way for most of the grid for the time being, as we're seeing this Alessandro Moras, the only driver of that time that was still out there. And indeed now coming into the pits as well. I believe everybody at this point is coming in. And the ones to watch, I think, for this next phase of qualifying are going to be Morgan Ball, Andrew Fairley, and Bryn Evans, all having set the time on the mediums. We don't know their full pace just yet. As who have we got still out there at the moment? Was Alvaro still going around? I believe he was. Yeah, so Alvaro's staying out at the moment on these soft tyres. Going for a slightly longer opening stint in qualifying. Plenty of time left, of course. And after a couple of laps, one, how much fuel has he burned off? If he's not, I don't think he's going for a lap right now because leading on to my second point, I don't really think he'll have the tyres to do the sort of times that would net him a grid position improvement. Maybe just using this as an opportunity to feel the way the car is right now. You can see the lack of grip there on traction coming out of the hairpin at turn 11, wiggling the car away as he stamped on the loud pedal. It is going to be an interesting one, this one, as we're starting to see some of the early starters coming back out again, and we've got some medium tyres again. So Jake Finch coming out on the mediums, as has Matthew Roberts and Marcus Thorler and Danny Coe. So this will be interesting to see how the mediums play out for these guys. If they think they've got the pace, can they try and sneak themselves into the top 10 on the mediums, or are they going to be able to just carry these through, or what is the plan? We'll have to wait and see. As you can see, Jake Finch invalidating his outlap. I'm not sure he's going to be too bothered by that one. But as we're heading down through the hairpin now, what are these medium tyres going to be like for these drivers in a qualifying setting? We saw sometimes coming in earlier from, as we said, Morgan Ball, Andrew Fairley and Bryn Evans. They've all gone out now on the soft tyres for their second stint. Whereas some of the further back drivers have opted for the mediums for that second stint. So we're seeing a little bit of interesting strategy playing out as qualifying unfolds. Plenty of time left though, so I imagine if those that are on the mediums now, if they did decide they wanted the softs or needed to go to the softs to get that extra bit of time, there's plenty of time for them to do so, even after blasting a lap on the mediums. So no real pressure from that front just yet. The pressure will come if they manage to not set times in this stint. We saw them go out for the first stint, not set times for one reason or another. If they manage to not set a time after this stint, then the pressure does come on a little bit as time draws to a close in qualifying. If you've not got at least a banker lap on the board, that pressure does start to mount, as we've got a great onboard shot from Jake Finch coming into turn 1, clipping that apex nicely on the medium tyre. Don't forget, as we head through the twisty sector 1, and what is Sector 1 going to look like as we get closer towards the timing line? See what it shows. It's a purple Sector 1 for Jake Finch on the medium tyres. So definitely finding the pace out there on the harder rubber at the moment in that Red Bull. And of course, the close of Sector 2 will be coming up just after the straight finishes that we are about to go on to. But it's been looking very clean so far from Jake Finch. DRS wide open on the back of that Red Bull then as we blast down the straight once more. Heading towards turn 12 and towards this timing line. It was purple in Sector 1. What is Sector 2 going to be looking like? Purple as well. So Jake Finch is absolutely flying out there on those medium tyres at the moment. And what a coup it would be if he could take pole position on the mediums. Of course, what we can't see right now is the time. In fact, he's stopping out of this lap. And that is an interesting one for Jake Finch. We saw he purple Sector 1, purple Sector 2. Maybe he doesn't want to set his fastest time in qualifying on the mediums. Not quite sure what's going on there, but nevertheless, we have had a faster time set by Jed Norgrove in the Aston Martin, done a 1:30.808 to pip Thomas Laminen to pole position, relegating his teammate onto row 2 of the grid for the time being. Will stick as Morgan Ball now absolutely annihilates that time, a 1:30.6 from the Red Bull driver, as another Red Bull driver goes for a spin and just about keeps it out of the wall. Jake Finch, big moment as we headed through turn 3, just about managed to keep it out of the barriers, and that is a I will need a new race suit after I come back to the pits, please, engineer. sort of a moment, but well held to keep it out of the wall. Luckily, I think the fact that it's run off there and not grass saved him. He was able to get the traction to slow the car down and not hit anything. But that is not what you want if you're Jake Finch and your fastest lap time in this qualifying session has been a 1:41 so far. We know he's got the pace, of course. We saw in the opening 2 sectors in that previous lap that he's got the pace. But not deciding to convert that lap for whatever reason. I'm still not quite sure why, whether it's a strategy thing, if he doesn't want to start on the mediums and doesn't want to risk his fastest time being set on the mediums. We'll see if he does come into the pits. I imagine he will do. Ready to put on a set of the soft tyres for the final stint of the qualifying. As almost all the drivers now have set a time. We've only got the 2 Ferraris, one of the AlphaTauris, and a McLaren yet to set a time. And both Ferraris are currently out on laps as we take a look now at Jagexi coming down the back straight towards turn 12. The DRS wide open on that Ferrari. And a 1:01.821, the sector time coming through the end of sector 2. We'll see what that converts to in terms of a complete lap time. See if he can hook up this final sector and get himself a good position on the grid. Of course, a banker lap is really what we're looking for if you're behind the wheel of that Ferrari for now. I'm sure, as I believe that was Danny Cove that had a spin coming out of turn 18. But now across the line, what can Jagexi do? A 1:31.6. That's good enough for 11th position at the moment. A good banker lap was what he needed, and a good banker lap is what he has found. What can his teammate do? Bogdan, he's in the pits at the moment, so still no time set, as all 3 of the back-end drivers are currently in the pits. And we await the final stint for all of the drivers, as I was about to go and see what Jane was doing out on track, and Jane is coming in to the pits. But Peso is out there in the Williams, the only driver on track at the moment, pretty much on a lap. In fact, no, Fass is out there as well on an out lap, and Jagexi is, I'm going to only assume, on an in lap after that lap that we just saw. Jagexi should still have enough time to get back and get a new set of tyres on and get back out just about for one more flying lap in the end of the session. So let's keep our eyes on what Peso can do. And interestingly, Fass has come out on a scrub set of soft tyres. I'm not sure whether that was done on purpose or not, but 3 laps you can see the tyre age on the soft tyres that are on the Alfa Romeo, down in 13th position. So obviously feeling there's some life left in those tyres to get a decent time out of. Everybody else has come out on the fresh set of soft tyres, and this is where we're going to see the times tumble. If the drivers can hook the times up, we could see the order completely change within the next 3 minutes as everybody comes out for these final laps. The track gets better, the drivers get more and more comfortable with the circuit, and we are bringing down that time now as Peso rounds the final corner to start what will likely be their final lap of the session. They will have time to do another one if they wanted to go back to back, but I'm not sure whether that will be a viable option. So let's keep an eye on what the Williams can do as we head through turn 1 and back down the roller coaster like hill into the twisty sector 1 through turns 3, 4, 5 and 6 so quickly. Just scrubbing off that speed, keeping the car carrying as much momentum as possible through this sector before we head down towards the hairpin, as there is an AlphaTauri getting out of the way nicely. And I believe that is Peso going slowly, so perhaps a little bit unsighted from that traffic, just choosing to back away from the lower pedal. It looked a bit slow going into the hairpin anyway. Maybe just choosing to preserve the tyres and go for one final qualifying lap at the very dying grasp. Still, for the time being though, Morgan Ball holds pole position on a 1:30.6. With Jed Norgrove just behind on a 1:30.8. So 2/10 that gap to find at the moment. as all the drivers except one, in fact, all the drivers are now out on circuit on either hot laps or out laps. Morgan Ball just starting a hot lap. Final one of the session for Morgan Ball. What can he do? Can he improve on a 1:30.6 as the qualifying time ticks down? This will be the final showing for the Red Bull driver. A good grid position here will really help him in that fight to get to the top of the title, the top of the championship standings, and get one hand on the title almost with just 3 rounds remaining. Down towards 11 we go then. It's looking pretty hooked up so far for Morgan Ball, but was it an improvement? I didn't quite catch what the Sector 1 time was. I didn't see purple flashing up on that mini-map. So maybe not the fastest anyone has been, but there's still 2 sectors of racetrack left as now the time starts to fall. Andrew Karapi, 1:35. Leonard with a slightly faster 1:30.514, taking provisional pole position for the time being. Morgan Ball now purple in Sector 2, looking to rival that 1:30.5 we've just seen set. He was on pole position before those times came in. A bit of a wiggle as we came out of turn 15 there. Will that have cost him that little bit of time that he needed to make up? Jagexi's crossed the line. No further improvements from the Ferrari driver. Will only start as best as 13th now as Andrew Fairley comes across the line in 11th. Final corner to go for Morgan Ball, and he's gone wide. He's gone off the circuit, but it doesn't matter. He managed to keep hold of it and not invalidate the lap. It's a 1:30.4 for Morgan Ball. He made that time up. It was scruffy in the final sector, but he managed to make up enough time. Thomas Laminen's come across the line in P4. No improvements will be seen from him. Jed Norgrove, what can he do? He's just been displaced down to 6th by Peso coming across the line. Final corner for Jed Norgrove now as we head through. 1:35.67 for the second Aston Martin. A purple Sector 3 will get him into P4. Marcus Thorler's out there on older tyres. Alessandro Maras now. P8 on the fresh rubber. But this is an invalidated lap, so he will not be improving. Tony Reich is out on circuit as well. We saw him a late joiner in this qualifying session. He's not going to be able to set a time better than that 1:31.3 with an invalidated lap time. Fast did manage to get the newer tyres on and has crossed the line 18th at the end of the session. Jake Finch. What's happened to Jake Finch this session? We saw that 1:41.082 earlier. That was not a representative time from the Red Bull driver as Gomu Sands crashed into the pit wall there. And Jake Finch only 16th on the grid. It did look rather slow going through the exit of the final corner there. I'm not quite sure why. We've seen Jake Finch do that a few times in this session. Slow down as Marcus Thorler is out of qualifying now as well. Finished and done and dusted. But that is our starting order. And here is your pole sitter. Morgan Ball, 1:30.461 sets the pole position time. Leonard P2, Andrew Karapi P3 with Jed Norgrove alongside him on row 2. Thomas Laminen and Peso, row 3 with Marcus Thorler and Alessandro Maras lining up behind them. Danny Coe and Alvaro round out the top 10. Jane and Bryn Evans in P11, P12. Andrew Fairley alongside Matthew Roberts, row 7. Tony Reich, Jake Finch. Disappointing qualifying for Jake Finch in P16. Bogdan Moldovan P17 ahead of Ferrari teammate Jagexi in P18 and Fast down in P19. But here is our pole sitter going into this round 11 race then. Morgan Ball, and we'll get confirmation of those results as the Welshman sits himself on the top spot of the grid once again to start off round 11. P2 in the championship at the moment and looking like a strong contender in that title fight. We've got his rivals Alvaro down in P10. We've got Leonard is right up at the pointy end of the grid as well, alongside him on the front row in fact. So that is going to be the battle to watch. Leonard P6 in the championship at the moment, 13 points behind Morgan Ball who lies P2. Just a couple of points adrift of Daniel who isn't racing with us this evening. And this could be the title fight that we are watching brew right here, folks. Leonard and Morgan Ball separated by half a tenth in qualifying. What will separate them in the race? Will they be separated in the race? Time will tell as we get ready to go into a 28-lap race around this 5.5 kilometer circuit. And as the drivers get themselves ready to go, get your predictions in chat. Who of our drivers do you think will take away the win today? Who will come out leading the championship this evening? It is mathematically possible for most of the top front-running drivers to come away leading. Of course, it is 16... it's not 60. I was meant to say 64 points available, is what I was going to say, towards the end of this season with the remaining 4 rounds, this one included. And the gap down from P1 on 66 points at the moment down to P10 is just 30 points. So it's still anybody's game into this dying grasp of the season. But you can clearly see Morgan Ball and Leonard especially really thrusting themselves into that fight, trying to take away a little bit of that risk of everybody else behind them with a good start position. If they can convert that to a good finish as well, will be eyes locked on the Red Bull and the Aston Martin through the final 2 rounds of the season. Waiting on the timer to run down to 0. We'll go to the grid. We'll get to the formation lap. And then we will be ready to go racing here in Austin. And there we are. All the drivers ready to go for a formation lap. As we set off, time to get some heat through the tyres. One final quick check of everything before we go. Memorizing. I was about to say memorizing braking points, but at this point it's going to be second nature to all of these drivers, given how quick they are and some of the practice that some of them put in. The formation lap snaking its way through the first sector, as Alvaro appears to have made a little bit of a mistake on the formation lap. Will not get the heat through the tyres. That will be something to watch right in the middle of the field, as we see the predicted pit stop strategy looking like a potential for a 2-stop race. Soft, soft, medium, or soft, soft, hard. And we'll see if that does pan out as a 1 or a 2-stopper, whether anybody might try and go from the softs to the hards. We'll take a look at what tyres are looking like. So, everybody in the back 10 starting on the medium tyres, with the exception of Tony Reich on the soft. So watch Tony Reich at the start to come through the field. And of course the top 10 all on the soft tyres. 0 laps on those. So equal footing in that regard for our front 10. It will be pace and pace alone for those guys on where they finish and how well they manage the strategy. Will we see any impromptu safety cars as the race unfolds? We'll have to wait and see. But just a few more corners to go on this formation lap then, as Morgan Ball leads the snake around now, starting to back them up, getting ready to do those customary burnouts into the grid box. As we get ready to go, Alvaro looking pretty lonely on the grid there after that bit of a faux pas. They got him disqualified from the formation lap, but he will, of course, be able to start the race still. Don't worry about that DSQ. By his name, he will still start the race as the cars start to take those grid positions. Lining up in their grid boxes, we get a great view down the grid towards turn 1. Who's going to be leading? Morgan Ball on the outside in P1. Leonard in P2 on the inside. The track ever so wide up there. Will we see a good start from Andrew Karapi or Jed Norgrove even potentially sliding into that mix as well? Are we going to go 3 wide into turn 1? We'll have to wait and see for the lights to go out. But speaking of which, the lights are coming on as we get ready to go racing in round 11 of the PSGL F3. And we are away then, and it's a good start from all the front runners, but who has got the better start? Look at Andrew Karapi, he's already up past Leonard with 4 wide as we head down towards turn 1. It's Aston Martin coming out a long way, and he's pushing Morgan Ball out to the side as his teammate Jed Norgrove takes the wing. There's a bit of contact in the background as the 2 Aston Martins now lead the field away. Morgan Ball has been mugged into turn 1. Andrew Karapi's dropping back as well after such a good start. We saw a little bit of argy-bargy going on there, as well as a Ferrari. That's Jagexi cutting across the inside of the twisty section of the circuit there. Brent Evans moves up as he's battling with Alessandro Moras. Jake Finch has had a great start as well on the medium tyres up to P12. Now we get yellow flags. Danico has gone off. Danico off in the background from somewhere within the top 10. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but he is off at the exit of turn 9, between turn 9 and turn 10. And was there contact there? Has anybody got damage? I'm not sure. Doesn't look like we're going to get a safety car for this either, as you see Marcus Stoller now in that Mercedes. We said he was a full-time Mercedes driver, looking at the inside of Morgan Ball. And Morgan Ball, who started on pole position, he's dropped back in this opening lap. He's lost to both of his rivals, Leonard and Jed Norgrove, managing to get past into turn 1. Almost a little bit of teamwork there, as the squeezing from the Aston Martins allowed both of them to get away. And now Marcus Stoller is hungry to get past Morgan Ball as well. And Morgan Ball's going to need to compose himself and try and come away and fight back against these Aston Martins, as we're seeing the first lap coming to a close. Jed Norgrove leading them through from Leonard, Morgan Ball, Marcus Stoller, Thomas Laminen, Peso, Karapi, Alessandro Moras, Bryn Evans and Tony Reich rounding out the top 10. I said watch for Tony Reich coming through on that softer tyre. He's already up to P10. As Alvaro on the softer tyre has dropped down into P14, an abysmal start for someone who could be in with a chance of the title as well. As everybody starts to settle into a bit of a rhythm now, we'll see the DRS being activated at the end of this lap, ready for the next one. And will that make any difference, as Bryn Evans has gone off? And it goes from bad to worse for Bryn Evans. It's almost exactly where we saw Danico go off in the previous lap. Bryn Evans has gone off now. That is at turn 9. And yeah, I have to feel for Bryn Evans for another DNF, and leading into my very unfortunate stat for Bryn Evans for this season. He started every single race so far and has DNF'd, well, in 11 races now, DNF'd from 8 of them, which is highly bad luck for the AlphaTauri driver. Never really getting to see what true pace Bryn Evans has, as luck never seems to go his way in the races so far. And another example of that this evening, nevertheless. You see Gobru-san in P18 picking up the first of the corner cutting penalties of the evening. And given the nature of the circuit, it wouldn't surprise me to see a few more of those, as we see DRS enabling itself now. And look at the train of cars. Morgan Ball just about breaking the 1 second window very briefly from Marcus Stoller there, but otherwise everybody within a second there or thereabouts of the car in front. And that could lead to one of the infamous DRS trains. In fact, I say it was Morgan Ball breaking DRS and Marcus Stoller. I do apologise, it was Leonard breaking DRS on Morgan Ball, and that could be disaster for Morgan Ball. Qualified on pole, he's lost those 2 positions, and if those 2 ahead of him break that 1 second window by the end of the lap, they could run away from Morgan Ball, who could then get absolutely mugged down the main straight. As we're seeing the DRS open, he does have DRS, so that will give him the advantage coming away ahead of Marcus Stoller then. As the lead changes hands between the 2 Aston Martins, Leonard swipes past his teammate with the help of that DRS to take the lead of the race. And I imagine we'll see some working together from those 2 as the race goes on. As Jake Finch, it goes from bad to worse for the second Red Bull, down in P10, picks up a corner cutting penalty. And Jake Finch was probably looking to score a handful of points and bring himself back towards the front end of the championship here tonight, and is looking like luck is not on his side this evening in Austin as we get onto the start-finish straight. Leonard setting the fastest lap of the race, but still keeping his teammate within that DRS. No changes for the lead this time, as you can see from on board Morgan Ball's car. They're staying as they are for the time being. And of course, I'm wondering if we may see a bit of feistiness between the 2 Aston Martins, as they are very close to the championship as well. It's not just that they're both rivals of Morgan Ball's. 51 points and 46 points are what Leonard and Jed Norgrove are on. So it's not like they're comfortable by any means. They will be fighting it out as well as a team between the 2 of them for their own championships as well. as Leonard leads them down this back straight. What is the battery going to be looking like on that car? He's got 63%, so that's about 10% less than his teammate behind for the time being. He's having to use a little bit extra just to keep himself ahead for the moment. But they are still dragging Morgan Ball with them for the time being. Marcus Thorler has dropped back from Morgan Ball out of that 1 second window, so he is perilous at the head of another DRS train now, and you can see the train behind him. Laminin, Peso, Karapi, Moras, all bunched right up to the back of the Mercedes. And as we get onto the main straight once more, will we see any dives? They are very, very close to him as off wide in the background there. That looked like it might have been Tony Riesch having a bit of a wide moment. But now the DRS opens up on all of these guys in the train, and Laminin looking like he might dive up the inside of Marcus Thorler. And with the DRS, that was an easy move for the Haas to get through. And Thomas Laminin moves himself up into P4, but Marcus Thorler is not going to let him get away. We've got another DRS straight later on in the lap. He could retake the position if he wanted to. Through the twisty Sector 1-2 timing line we go, as we get yellow flags in Sector 1. Is that Gobu-san has gone off in the middle sector of the Sector 1. Looks like there's no damage there, just a bit of a spin. Jake Finch has DNF'd on the exit. We've seen so many drivers get caught out by this. Where is Jake Finch? We can't see him from this view. There he is on the outside, wheels hanging off the car. And it's a virtual safety car then, as Jake Finch's destroyed Red Bull lies on the outside of turn 9 exit. That is the third driver we've seen caught out by that so far this evening. What is going on at turn 9? Has somebody put oil on the circuit? Have we had some Mario Kart bananas going down or something? Because people are falling off the road there all the time. And the virtual safety car is out while the remains of Jake Finch's car get removed. But that does seem to be fiddling with the gap slightly. Of course, all the drivers have to drive to a delta while the virtual safety car is out. If the driver in front of you is driving slower than their delta, you can, in theory, bunch the field up a little bit. As Marcus Thorler has dived into the pits during this virtual safety car. He will save some time, assuming the virtual safety car stays out while he's in the pits. We've got the same coming in from Tony Riesch, I believe that was, as well as Alvaro and Gobu-san as well, who has picked up a penalty for speeding under the VSC. And it goes from bad to worse for the moment for Gobu-san, but we're back to green flag racing then. So not the total gain that those that pitted would have liked, but they have made their stops and gone onto the medium tyres for Marcus Soler and Tony Riesch, and Alvaro onto the hard tyres, trying the alternate strategy. We've seen him make that work earlier on in the season. What can he do on the hard tyres? 22 laps might be stretching it for those tyres around him. We'll have to wait and see if he can drag them out. If he can, he could be set to gain on those, especially doing a 2-stop this race. We'll keep an eye on how that unfolds as we watch on at this lead battle. Morgan Ball managing to bring the gap down now and really cling on to the back of Leonard, who's leading all three of these podium drivers around for the moment. And are we going to see any changes for the lead this time round? Will Jed Norgrove be close enough through the final corner? Will he just be acting as a little bit of a buffer for the time being? Using his teammate to stay in touch with the lead, but also holding off any attacks from Morgan Ball, who will be looking to retake the lead of the race that he lost on lap 1. Nothing brewing at the time being for these guys at the moment. Just staying in formation. And I imagine the pit stops will be the first time we see any real differences made. Who's going to bite first and go into the pits of these guys as Gobu-san comes into the pits as well from what was net last position. Maybe a strategy change for Gobu-san and mix the race up as well for him. You can see the field almost running in 3 little snakes at the moment. This lead 3. All running around with the DRS. Then we have Laminin P4. With Peso, Andrew Karapi, Alessandro Moras and Jigexi along in that train, and then Matthew Roberts the head of a third train with Jane, Andrew Fairley, Bogdan Moldovan and Fass involved in that little one as well. So the three different trains forming as Andrew Karapi makes a move on Peso in that second train, and the move is made right back. So the battle brewing between these two in the middle part of the lap, and you can see that was a bit wide for Thomas Laminen. So side by side as we head into turns 17 and 18, it's not really going to work out if you are Peso, and it has indeed backed off to allow the move to brew a little bit more. But Laminen looking a little bit shaky on this lap, it has to be said. And he's dived into the pits, in fact, so maybe struggling with grip as we head out onto lap 8. Peso will have the DRS from the detection point, so Laminen not completely throwing Peso out to dry just yet, but very soon he will be, as once we make our way onto the back straight. Andrew Karapi is going to have the DRS on Peso and will likely be trying to take that move on him, as Zach Gobis and having another moment in the back end of the field coming through turn 18. Nothing lost there, as that was a big wiggle for Peso. Definitely struggling for traction on the exit of corners as we headed through turn 9 there. And we've seen a few come across. Look at how close Andrew Karapi is into the braking zone there. He has got a good exit as well. Much better traction in that McLaren. He's not even needing the DRS to get that pass done. But he's got it nonetheless just to help run away. And now look at this. The Haas looking for a move as well. Alessandro Moras up the inside, and Peso loses 2 positions in the straight, but he's hanging it around the outside of the Haas. He's pushed right the way to the outside. He's going to have to yield that position away. And Peso, who was leading this train, now relegated down to P6 from P4. And Jigexi, you have to imagine, is going to be sniffing around this as well, having seen how easy that looked for the two that just got through. Peso definitely looks like they are struggling at the moment with tyre grippers. Jigexi is all over the back of the Williams for the time being. But Alessandro Moras comes into the pits. Peso does not. Jigexi is right on the back now on the medium tyres of Peso. DRS is going to be open for both of them though. Are we going to see a dive bomb from Jigexi into turn 1? We are. As the game has lost connection. Apologies, folks, and we'll try and bring you back into the action as quickly as we can. And I will try and bring you back to the action as soon as we can, as soon as I can get back into the race. I absolutely will be able to get in. But for the time being, let's talk about the race as we saw. We saw the pit stops were about to come in. I'm just trying to get myself back into the race at the moment. I can't remember who I do apologise, folks, for whatever connection issue that has forced me out of the lobby, but I will try and get back in there as soon as I can to bring you the action to see what we missed. Unfortunately, I don't have Sam with me this evening to do the radio comms, so it will be a surprise for everyone, I'm sure, when we get back into the lobby. Just waiting, try and get in as soon as we can. And I'm wondering if that may have been an issue that's affected a few of them. I'm seeing Matthew Roberts in the Discord reporting the same thing that we have just seen. I'm not quite sure on the extent of this so far. It's looking like... Looking like the race has still gone on, so it doesn't look like it's affected the whole lobby. Thankfully, it may have done, in fact. No, it's still showing me that at least Bryn is still in the multiplayer game. So A few of us appear to have been hit with a connection issue there, but the race continues. I will bring you any updates as I can. Do apologise once again for the technical issues that we have going on. Looks like there may have been a blip in the Steam connection somewhere down the line. It has at least lost myself and Matthew Roberts a seat in the race for the time being. And in fact, it's showing Bryn Evans is not in there as well. I'm not sure on whether we are fully out, whether we lost everybody there. I wait to confirm that one to you. I do apologise. What is going on? They are still racing, apparently. I just need to, if the race is still going on, I just need to wait for one of them to invite me back to the lobby, and I will bring you as soon as I can the coverage of the race. And I have got an invite, so we should be coming back into the lobby very, very shortly. Once again, apologies for whatever connection issues that was. As we are just rejoining the session no longer exists. Once again, apologies for the little technical blip here. I'm not sure whether that was Steam server side or otherwise, but we will work to bring the race action to you just as soon as we can. We did have the strategy game boiling up through that one. And I'm praying this time it lets me rejoin and we can see what we've missed through the time while we've been trying to fix these little technical niggles and try and get back into the race. I'm just trying to troubleshoot any issues that we're having at the moment. I'm getting invites to get back into the session now, but the game deciding to not let me. So, once again, apologies for the connection issues we're having with the game right now. We will do our absolute best to get the game back and running as soon as we can. And hopefully we can, at the very least, catch the remaining time in the session. Fingers crossed, all of your prayers and energy in chat that this invite works and I can rejoin the session. I'm not quite sure why it's deciding I can't. And once again, apologies, we're having some technical niggles for this one. It is not letting me in. Not letting me rejoin the session. Okay, so we are going to get some co-commentary from Bryn while we try and solve these. So we'll bring Bryn in, and Bryn can try and provide some radio commentary for us from the session
Hello.
while we try and fix these. Welcome, Bryn.
Yeah, hello. So pretty much what's going on right now is Jagetsi is actually leading the race on the medium tyres. Let's have a look. So Jagetsi, Andrew, Yanni Turkov, Bogdan and Fast still yet to pit, but Jed Norgove is net P1 right now. Sat in P5. Everybody on the mediums apart from the one and the only Matthew Roberts and Alvaro Puerto. That's pretty much it right now. There's pretty much a gap, but the top 7 through to top 3 are all within DRS.
Yeah, so we saw the DRS train forming before we had the connection problem, and it was looking like it was getting a bit spicy, but they seem to have picked themselves closer together now. We saw the top 3 pulling away a little bit as the pit window started to open. But it sounds like the pit stops have brought everybody a bit closer back together again now.
Pretty much, yep. Well, so we have got Yanni Turkov, Bogdan, and Faz are currently in the middle of Jed and Morgan Ball. Jed's getting past Bogdan now, going into the corner before the back straight, so he will have DRS. But yeah, again, it's crucial for Morgan Ball right now because he needs to get past Faz as quick and Bogdan as quick as possible to keep with Jed Norgrove at this very moment, but it's seeming that this hasn't happened that much as Yanni Turkov has now gone for the move and Andrew Fairley. They're going to go side by side at the end of the Sector 2 split. We're famous yesterday, Jarno pushed off Nico Longe.
Yeah, so the action brewing, and Morgan Ball, obviously, as you were saying, wants to try and keep with the 2 Aston Martins of Leonard and Jed Norgrove, the 2 pretty much his main championship rivals in this race, the way it's played out with the drivers that have been able to attend this one. And they were trying to get away from him in the early stages of the race, but that DRS just about kept him in touch. But this traffic could be what they needed to pull away.
Well, pretty much right now, a bit of information. Andrew Fairley did let Jed Norgrove pass, crucially before the long right-hander. And Yanni Turkov is now just let Jed through into turn 1, and Jed is now back up to P2 with Morgan Ball sat in P6 still.
So it's falling apart a little bit for Morgan Ball as we enter this phase of the race with the traffic getting in the way. And we will bring some action to you on screen just as soon as we can. I think we are able to do so in a second.
Yep, hopefully if this should work.
And we are indeed. So I will pop this out and we'll get it into the broadcast just as soon as we can. Once again, folks, apologies for the technical issues we've had this evening. Soon.
Here we go. Morgan Ball is gone for a move up the inside of Bogdan, up to P5 now. Making his way back up course, going to have to catch back to Jed Norgrove because, crucially, he's quite far back now. He's, 2.5 seconds behind now. So, but hopefully he can catch back up. He's out of DRS of Andrew, but now he's back in it. Hopefully he can catch because it looks like Jed Norgrove will walk away with this, if not.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the traffic's playing a huge part in this one, as we can see. Just taking a look now as the medium runners are mixing it in with the soft starters, and really
and that
becoming an
is
issue.
Marcus Towell into the pits and retiring the car.
Interesting from him to be retiring. Obviously not happy with the way the race is going so far. Becomes the 5th retiree from this race, and if memory serves me, the first one that's not been caught out on the exit of turn 9 that we've had so far this race as well. It's become the trap for a lot of the drivers, but not for Marcus. Retiring for a different reason as we keep our eyes peeled on this battle that's brewing up towards the front end of the grid. Andrew Fairley, Morgan Ball bearing down on him, needs to get past as soon as he can to catch back up to Jed Norgrove just as quickly as possible, just to keep within a chance of winning this race.
Yeah, well, Jed's crucially taken out a second of Jagetski already.
Yeah, those fresh tyres are really working on Jed's car and just allowing him to build this gap just absolutely as much as he can. And this is really frustrating at the moment if you're Morgan Ball. falling further and further behind your rivals, stuck behind cars on the older tyres. And also, Morgan Ball appears to have picked up a penalty from somewhere. I'm not quite sure where that was from, but that will double the frustrations that he's picked up as well. 5 seconds is that he's picked up.
It's 3.
Is
Yeah,
it
he's
3?
picked up a 3 second for track limits. But soon, hopefully, his pain should be ended because, of course, the, what, 6... No, hold on. My maths is absolutely terrible at this very moment. The 5 drivers that are still yet to pit should hopefully pit this lap, if not next. And there you go. Morgan Ball has gone up the inside of Andrew Fairley into turn 1. Yet again, a crucial move because, like you say, he needs to catch back up to Jed Norgrove. I mean, look, he's now, 2.8 behind, being stuck behind these yet-to-pit cars on the old tyres.
Yeah, so he really needs to get the bit between his teeth now, and that may well be one of the most satisfying overtakes Morgan Ball makes in this race, having been stuck behind the Mercedes for just as long as he has been. Now finally getting clear, only to find himself now stuck behind another car that's been running on those older tyres for quite some time. DRS maybe being able to make a bit quicker work of this one, as Yanni is the leader in the train, and indeed does dive up the inside into turn 11, taking that position away, and now we'll see the pace that Morgan Ball has as we head into the final sector. Jed Norgrove is the next car down the line. Look at the gap already, 2.8 seconds the gap back from Jed Norgrove to Morgan Ball. Can Morgan Ball bring that gap down to be in with a chance of still winning this? Because not only does he need to bring that gap down and make the move on Jed Norgrove in the remaining 10 laps of the race, he's also got to get at least 3 seconds ahead of him when and if he does make the move to still keep that win at the moment.
Yeah, which will be quite... It is really hard to do that as well because it's the matter of fact of you're going to wear out your tyres catching up to the driver to then wear them out again trying to push them away. So it's a bit of a lose-lose battle in this case. It's like no matter what you're going to do, you're going to struggle somewhere.
Absolutely. It is a lose-lose situation for Morgan Ball, but I'm sure he's going to make the best he can of it. As see, that's Bogdan coming out of the pits on the soft tyres. Be interesting to see how Alvaro can do in the final closing stage of the race. Obviously made that very early pit stop, sitting in P13 at the moment on the 11-lap-old hard tyres. He probably get those to the end, I want to say.
Yeah, he will be able to because them hards are pretty durable.
But we've also got a few drivers out there on tyres a lot older than that, with 17 laps on the mediums for a bunch of cars still, with Fass and Andrew Fairley and Yanni. It's still out there on 17-lap-old mediums, and you have to expect a pit stop from them soon. Onto the soft compound of tyres, as we've seen from Bogdan and Matthew Roberts already.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised they haven't pit as of yet because as we saw yesterday, the undercut was very powerful from Nico Longe. So I'm going to say Bogdan is definitely going to take advantage of this and possibly jump ahead of both Andrew, Yanni, and no, not Jagetski. There's too much of a gap there, but definitely them two, the Alpine and the Mercedes.
Well, we'll see for sure now as they all have dived in to the pits at the end of that lap. So where are they going to come out? Are they going to come out ahead or behind Bogdan, as we see Jagetsi first one to come out, of course the first one to go in, and he'll be on the much faster tyre for the remainder of this race, and he's still in P8 coming out of the pits. And indeed you were right there, Bogdan does come out in the lead of that pack of cars. The undercut working very nicely in, putting himself ahead of Yanni, Andrew and Vass, and sitting in P11 at the moment, just outside of points paying positions, but on the faster rubber, may be able to bring Alvaro in towards the end of this race. As Jed Norgrove still our leader, and that gap to Morgan Ball is increasing.
It is. It's obviously seemed that though Morgan Ball has now settled in no dirty air situation, he's just being gapped a bit. Although he has pulled a bit back through that, going into the fight into sector 3 now. But yeah, again, Jed Norgrove is just stretching his legs at this point. It's just keep calm, bring it home like it's a little Sunday drive now, but keep the gap.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way things stand at the moment, Morgan Ball will still be ahead of Jed Norgrove in the championship and will be leading the championship coming out of this round. Jed Norgrove will close the gap, but 46 points to the 64 currently of Morgan Ball. It does have a bit of a comfy gap back to Jed Norgrove. And what happened to Leonard down in P9? Missed something with all of the chaos. He was right with Jed Norgrove. Did they try a double stack that's gone awry, or did something happen?
Possibly. Like I say, I'm not sure either, but it must have been a failed pit stop or something along that line. Says, yeah, go Bogdan on the soft to set the fastest lap of the race. So showing
Yes.
the paces there.
They are going to be absolutely on a charge, and so will Gigexi in the Ferrari on that softer compound of tyre. Reeling in Alessandro Moras at the moment. You can see there is the gap purple in the first sector as well for Gigexi, absolutely flying at the moment. 8 laps to go. And Gigexi in a prime position to move himself towards the top end of the top 10. It might be a bit of a stretch, perhaps, get towards a podium, but I don't think it's out of the question for the Ferrari if he can get through these drivers pretty quickly with the help of the DRS and the faster rubber, especially with those that are on the medium tyres all being ahead of him. 10 laps, 9 laps, 11 laps old on some of them. And, a bit of contact looked like into the back of Alessandro Moras. Just a bit not really expecting the move to be as on as it was, I think, for Gigexi there. Not realising how much Moras would have to slow down for the corners. And now he's diving up the inside, getting that move done perhaps a few corners later than he perhaps could have done. But it is done nonetheless. And very lucky to not get some damage on the front of the Ferrari there. I'm assuming I can't see any damage on the front of that Ferrari. So he may have just about gotten away with that one.
Yeah, he seemingly has got away with it, but like you say, it's one of them cases where he's not expected the car in front on older tyres to brake earlier and slammed on the brakes at last minute, and then, like you say, just ran into back. Look, again, this situation, the braking difference there is quite insane because of the grip of the tyres.
Yeah, it really shows the pace difference between the rubber that we've got on the road at the moment. 10-lap-old mediums versus 1-lap-old softs. Just how much later Gigexi can brake than everybody else, and that's where a lot of this pace is going to come from. That and traction out of the slower corners, especially such as the hairpin we are coming up towards. I imagine Gigexi's going to get this move done on pace over this lap with the DRS, but we'll wait and see as we head down towards turn 11. He's going to slide it in behind on the brakes, just keep behind at the moment, and then as soon as that DRS opens with a good drive, though to be fair to Peso, he's had a decent drive out of there himself, but with a pace difference on that Ferrari, can't really defend that at all. And Gigexi moving up to P5 already, 1 seconds, that is the gap now to Thomas Laminen, and he's got 7 laps to reel in those top guys.
Certainly, I can definitely agree that podium could be on the cards right now for Jagetski. But hopefully, as well, as we've seen in 2022 in real life right now, close racing should be even closer next game. So, I mean, you see how close he could follow through the S's section. Imagine that next game. That's going to be immense.
Yeah, absolutely right. With the new design of cars, it's going to be absolutely incredible to see the league racing shine with everybody being able to drive a lot closer to each other without dirty air becoming a problem. It's just going to make everything so much more interesting. As that looked like a move, it was Yane getting past Bogdan into P9. That's equal tyres for those two, so that is a race of pace as Andrew Fairley gets past Leonard on the 10-lap-old mediums. Those medium tyres looking like they're getting a bit scruffy, losing a bit of their grip as we head into this phase of the race. But they'll drag them through, I'm sure, kicking and screaming to the end as we are on lap 22 of 28 for the time being. And Jed Norgrove still leading at the moment from Morgan Ball. I think that is probably how that's going to finish unless Gigexi can absolutely fly and continue to fly through the remaining 6 laps as it looks like he is right now. Because look, he's already reeled in Thomas Laminen in just 1 lap. That was a 2.1 second gap a lap ago. And he's already right on the back of the Haas driver as he's head down through turn 12 and into 13. This podium is looking more and more likely as the race goes on. And certainly, those tyres are looking absolutely rapid. The red tyres on the red car could be carrying Gigexi to what would be a great result for the Ferrari driver, especially as the season draws to a close. There's just a few rounds remaining. Any points are going to be absolutely vital now. And now DRS wide open on the back of the Ferrari, down towards turn 1 we go. He's diving up towards the inside. We can just about see it there. Up the inside he goes. With the DRS easy done.
Apologies, I'm just going to have to stop the stream for 1 second because there's slight issues.
Not a problem, but Jigexi on an absolute charge at the moment. We'll bring this back to you just as soon as we can, folks. And continue to see this charge that Jigexi is bringing in. On the softer tyres, the alternate strategy really working out well for the Ferrari driver at the moment. Looking like we said he looked like he could be on for a podium. Could he upset Morgan Ball? That's going to be the next interesting question with the lap time differences that he's got going on as well.
Certainly, and we should be back up and running, hopefully.
I'm currently staring at 3 little dots, but...
Is it staring at 3 little dots? This should be working, hopefully. And it's not working. That's just beautiful.
Discord going to be discording. But,
Okay, this is just what we wanted at this point in the stream.
yeah, once again, folks, there we go. We're back. Once again, folks, apologies for the technical glitches throughout this race. Some connection problems and all sorts of little gremlins making their way in. As making his way through is Jigexi, 3.7 seconds the gap to Andrew Karapi. And there is that lead group just at the other end of the straight. As Jigexi on that soft tyre is reeling them in, 3.7 as we cross the line. What's that gap going to be once we get through some of the corners? 3.4 already after 1. So the answer is he's going to reel them in pretty damn fast in that Ferrari at the moment. And I feel like it's going to be a get your predictions in. Where is Jigexi going to finish? Because I think the top 3, without the interference of a Ferrari, are going to be pretty much finishing in the order they currently are at the moment. Just looking to bring those tyres and bring the cars home and take what points they can from this one. As you can take a look at the penalties now. 3 seconds for Morgan Ball, 3 seconds for Karapi. At the moment, that puts Jigexi in P3. Those penalties could be absolutely crucial for Karapi and Morgan Ball.
Certainly,
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, certainly because, look, he is close. Only a tenth between 2 tenths now between him and a possible P3, so it's going to be very tight towards the end of the race.
Yeah, with the pace, you have to think that 2 tenths is going to be completely gone by the time we cross the line. And it would be an heroic drive from Jigexi to bring this car into a podium finish. So we're taking a look now with Andrew Fairley on the back of Bogdan Moldovan and Yane as well, as Morgan Ball's picked up another time penalty. That's 6 seconds on Morgan Ball now, isn't it?
Yes, that is.
So that could be P2 for Jigexi now. Because what Jigexi is about 8 seconds currently adrift of Morgan Ball, but with a faster rubber, that 2 seconds could be gone in the next 3 laps, and we could be seeing a Ferrari P2 at the moment, with Andrew bringing that McLaren home in P3, and Morgan Ball, who should still be leading the championship, but not by quite as much, thanks to that penalty. I was saying earlier on in the broadcast, the corner cutting penalties are going to be something to watch out for here, and sure enough, you can see just how many of them we've got at the moment. Jed Norgrove, Jigexi and Bogdan, as well as Tony Reich and Matthew Roberts, the only drivers not to pick up a penalty so far in this race. Everybody else has gotten at least 1, or if you Morgan Ball, 2 of them, which is not what you wanted to see at this phase of the race. But it has to be said, Jigexi not catching perhaps quite as quickly as I was expecting him to. And that could be a saving grace for Morgan Ball in this one. In fact, no, it won't be a saving grace for Morgan Ball, but it'd be a saving grace for Karapi even. He may just about hold on to P3 if Jigexi can't make his way through. So the complicated maths begins to try and figure out who's going to finish where. That's always a dangerous game to play, because commentating and maths are not 2 things that go well together.
Certainly, as I proved not so long ago. But as of right now, yes, Morgan Ball will finish P4 on track. Andrew Korapai will be P3, and Jagetski will finish P2.
Yeah, so that is a dream race for Jagexi coming along here. Just needs to keep it clean through the final part of the race. We've only got 2 laps to go, and he's looking comfortable for a P2 finish. Now, I'm just going to re-acquaint myself with the standings, because I cannot recall. I don't think we've seen Jagexi pick up a podium yet in this season. We haven't. In fact, Jagexi, a real surprise in this race, has only finished in the points once in the 4 races he's been part of, and 3 of those races were DNF, so a podium would be an absolute fairy tale of a finish for the Ferrari driver, and it's looking absolutely likely at the moment.
Yep, all he needs to do is navigate 2 more laps after this one, and that P2 is his, as long as he doesn't let them tyres drop off the cliff, because, like you say, the soft tyres, they have that pace, but after so many laps, they reach the cliff, and when they go off, they go off.
Yeah, we saw that in the opening stint of the race. We saw a few of the drivers that pushed the tyres just a little bit too hard, too early, that were in the top 10, and you could see how much they were struggling, especially on the exits of corners with the traction. Just trying to get the grip down, as we've got yellow flags, as that's Haas going backwards. That's Maras. He was in a good position.
And a puncture.
And a puncture as well. So having to come in for a late pit stop. So was there contact there, or has he brushed a wall from a spin that's caused that puncture? And he gets a penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well. It's all come undone for the Haas driver. And what was a promising position for Alessandro Maras now looks like it's going to be right at the back end of the grid. And that is so, so unfortunate.
Certainly is, but it looks like he will use this opportunity to now go for the fastest lap of the race and take it away from, let's see who currently has the fastest lap, and that is Faz in P10.
Yeah, so Faz with the fastest lap, will Faz keep the fastest lap? We'll have to wait and see. As there's a move coming on here from Andrew Fairley, looking at the inside of Bogdan. There's a little bit of contact there as well, upset the rear end of the Ferrari, just about holds onto it. They're still side by side down the main straight, and Bogdan's actually pulling away somehow from the Ferrari. But look at this, Faz with the fastest lap, coming in to try and make it 3 wide into turn 11. There's a bit of bumping and argy-bargy between the Ferrari and the Mercedes. They get through cleanly, but Faz, with the steal of the century, diving up the inside of the both of them and stealing 8th place.
That was something we didn't expect. All of a sudden, just came on board with Andrew, seeing that little contact causing Bogdan to almost spin it out. Then down the inside in a big, here comes Sebastian Vettel moment, Faz.
Yeah, Faz steam training up the points with that fastest lap as well. We'll definitely want to keep hold of that, but the question lies as we head on to the final lap of the race. Are the tyres going to hold out with that fastest lap of the race? Has he eaten too much? Can he hold on? He's got the DRS ahead of him, so he's looking comfortable at the moment. Yannick pulling Faz along to keep him ahead of Bogdan and Andrew Fairley as we see the final lap unfolding now. Where is Jed Norgrove coming around? I can't quite see on the map.
It's now coming to turn 11.
So turn 11, just half a lap to go then for Jed Norgrove, and it will be a win here at Austin. And that currently sitting P7 in the championship. He's really going to thrust himself into the title fight with this one. Morgan Ball, we'll see where he finishes with the gaps and the penalties as we've got. That's a Mercedes go, but that's Andrew Fairley without a front wing. What's happened with Andrew Fairley? We saw him involved in that battle. That was very close as well, with Tony Reich coming through. What's happened there? We saw him involved in that fight with Faz and Bogdan. Speaking of Faz and Bogdan, look at this. Faz up another position down the back straight on this lap. Was P10 at the start of lap 27. By the end of lap 28, he's made his way up to P7. What a great couple of final laps from Faz as we take a look now at Jed Norgrove coming around the final couple of corners in the Aston Martin. P7 in the championship, firmly into the championship fight for the Aston Martin driver who crosses the line to win in Austin as Andrew Korapi finishes ahead of Morgan Bull, and Jagexi crosses the line in P3 in the end. Not quite sure what happened. Yeah, it was very, very, very close, but a podium nonetheless for a driver that's only had 1 points finish in the 4 races started. A great result for him as everybody else comes across the line now to confirm their results as well. Faz confirmed in P8 with the penalties along the way. And of what we saw of it, what a race it was in the end. Jed Norgrove keeping his nose clean to take the win. Morgan Ball coming a cropper a little bit and having to settle with P4, and a great drive from Jagexi. Honestly, my driver of the day has to be Jagexi here. Taking his first podium of the season and making that alternate strategy really, really work. And indeed, the game agreeing with me there, giving the driver of the day to Jagexi as well. And this is really going to upset the championship standings with 3 rounds to go, of course, after this one. And it's looking like it's going to be a spicy end to the season then, Bryn.
It certainly is. I mean, Jagexi, that was a proper King's drive at that very moment. But Jed Norgrove winning the race by what seemingly was a decent margin, 7.311 seconds, if I'm correct, is quite comfortable to say the least.
It is indeed really asserting dominance around Austin as we take a look at the confirmed race results. Jed Norgrove finishing, as we saw, in P1 ahead of Andrew Korapi, just 4/100ths of a second ahead of Jagexi with that Heroes drive in P3. Morgan Ball P4 ahead of Tuomas Laminen. P5 Bogdan coming in ahead of Peso. P6 and P7 Faz. We saw a great couple of laps from Faz to finish P8 just ahead of Yane and Tony Reich rounding out the top 10. Leonard Navarro just outside the points. Leonard, that's going to hit him really hard, being as one of those that's in the title fight, as well as Alvaro as well. Andrew Fairley, we saw him have a spin on the final lap, P13. Alessandro, P14. Matthew Roberts finishing P15. And Marcus Tholer, Gobu-san, Jake Finch, Danico, and of course yourself, Bryn. Unfortunate non-finishers in this race. And well, what a race it has been.
Certainly.
Change over, of course, once again, do apologise for the technical gremlins we did see through this one. We'll try and get those sorted for the next race. As we take a look at the calendar, we'll see the next race is in Brazil. We thought we'd lost it with the desync issues, but Brazil is back on the calendar. Next time out, 4th and 5th of May. And this would normally be the part where I'd say, let's do some driver interviews, but unfortunately I bounced pretty quickly this evening, so we'll have to leave that to the imagination for now. We'll try and catch up next week with the drivers, see their thoughts, if they can remember this race, and what exactly happened. But we'll join you next time in Brazil. Thank you very much, Bryn, for coming in and filling in through the gremlins there. And thank you all for joining in to watch this evening's PSGL race. We will be back with the F3 action next week in Brazil. But for now, you can go and check out the F2 race, which is live as well on the PSGL YouTube channel. Go watch those drivers. Of course, we've got F3 alum in Carter Lundy in there as well. Go and cheer on all of the drivers there as they set for their Austin race. And I will see you next week.